Long-legged monster. Once I heard the stories of these other long-legged monsters, I remembered my experience with one. My sister and I were having a sleepover in my room. We slept on my bed, which was right next to the window because I like to look outside at night. She was texting her boyfriend on Snapchat. She took a picture of herself. I didn't notice at first, but my sister did. "What's that in the background?" she said. I looked closer. There's a generator outside of my bedroom window, where the power comes into the house. There was a black figure that looked like it was looking at my sister in the picture. It had very long legs and it was lean. I looked outside my window to be greeted by darkness. I asked if she could send it to me, and then I could screenshot it so I could look back on it. Then we went on, not thinking anything of it. My sister fell asleep and I was alone in the darkness of my room. I tried to fall asleep after she did, because I didn't want to be sitting in the dark by myself. My room is right by the roof. I don't know if I was hearing things or not, but it sounded like something was crawling out on the roof. Me always watching horror stories, I hide beneath my blanket while the sound creeps nearer. And suddenly it just went away. After that, I just was watching YouTube videos, trying to get it out of my mind. The next morning, I forgot all about it. Don't worry, it's not the end of the story yet. I usually slept overnight at my friend's house. Her room was also by the roof. We always fall asleep early when I'm at her house. But this night, we both woke up to the sound of tapping outside of her bedroom window. She whispered to me,
"Did you hear that too? You heard that too? You heard that too?"
My heart felt like it stopped when I could see the shadow of a very tall figure outside of her window, just like on the picture the previous night. I was frozen in fear when this happened. She screamed her dad to come. By the time he managed to get up there, it was already gone. I deleted the picture that I saved, and I've never heard or seen from the shadow, long-legged monster ever again. And I hope I don't. Scary Tinder story. Just for some background info, I'm an 18-year-old male currently living in New York. I'm 6'4" and buff. I've always been the centre of ridicule and teasing from a young age due to my size. Just for some context, I stopped growing in the 9th grade 4 years ago. I was already done with puberty and had a full-on beard and was adult-like. I took advantage of this sometimes too much, which led to me losing my virginity in the 9th grade to a girl who was in college. This story takes place when I was in the 10th grade. I was lonely after a breakup with my then 7-month girlfriend. I was looking for a one-night stand, so I turned to Tinder. I set up a fake profile with my real picture and waited. There was this gorgeous girl who I matched with. The girl was too good to be true, which gave me the first red flag, yet I went along with it anyway. We exchanged innocent messages and planned to meet at her place the next day around 9 p.m. I wasn't as excited as you would think because I had some doubts on this girl because I didn't know if she was real. So 9 p.m. rolls around and I get ready to go to her place. I mentally prepared myself if anything crazy was going to go down. Before I left, I texted my dad saying I was going to a friend's house. I asked my good friend Isaac, who was 6 years older than me, to drive me, since he had a car. He warned me to be cautious, and I was. Long story short, he drives me to her apartment and I ring the doorbell. I hear light footsteps behind the door and a high-pitched voice saying, "Be right there." That's when I texted my friend telling him everything is fine and he should leave. Boy, was I wrong. The door opens to the girl in the picture. I immediately felt excited, which didn't last for long. On my Tinder account, I wrote that I was 24 when really I was only 15. Not knowing this, she swiftly asked me if I wanted a drink. I said I didn't want anything, which visibly made her facial expression turn from happy to annoyed. I realised that maybe I was going to be drugged, and I was not about to take any chance, so I asked to go to the bathroom. Out of the blue, she said,
"Sure, happily."
Again, her weird response confirmed my theory in my head. I go to the bathroom and quickly text my friend to come back and pick me up. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I see a figure dressed in all black standing in the shower, trying to hide behind the curtain. I figure he saw me looking at him, because not even 2 seconds later, he lunged at me. I was scared, stiff, even though I was massively taller than this man. He tried pushing me to the floor, yet to no avail. I overpowered him too vastly. I grabbed him by the shirt and looked him in the eye. He was around 5'10", sort of buff, mid-30s, bald, and looked to be of Russian descent. I pushed him to the floor and cursed him out, because I also know Russian. He tells me to screw myself, which is when I punched him in the face. There I was, a 15-year-old idiot, in the bathroom with a knocked-out man. I panicked, but tried to keep my cool, took out my phone and took loads of photos of the man. By then, my friend texted me and told me he was outside the building waiting for me. Just then, the girl opened the door to the bathroom and started to scream. I pushed her with all of my power and sprinted the hell out of that apartment. When I got to my friend's car, I frantically explained to him what happened. I only then realised I could have been drugged, killed, or worse. I obviously took screenshots of her profile and messages between us. Even though I had all the proof in the world to lock these assholes up, I didn't, because I was scared of my parents and lying to them. The moral of this story is to be very cautious when dating online. My dad's mystery. True story. I've had a lot of weird, unusual, or just downright creepy instances happen in my everyday life for as long as I can remember. It's not just me either. Several members of my family have shared some scary stories with one another down the years. What I'm about to tell you is a completely unexplained mystery that happened to my dad in 1980 when he was 18, and it involves a night out with his best friend and their girlfriends at the time, whose relationships didn't last long. That may not seem relevant, but the events of this story are one of the reasons why. My dad grew up in Manchester, England in the 1970s. As my dad was looking for work and balancing university, he had a night out every Friday and Saturday night, usually with his friend, who I'll call Wayne for privacy reasons. Despite my dad's thirst for alcohol, he never used drugs or smoked weed, even though his friends did. Wayne, my dad and their girlfriends at the time arrived at a nightclub in Manchester, England one Friday night. None of the four were intoxicated yet, so the eagerness to get hammered kicked in. My dad bought the first round of drinks, but before he could take a sip, he was bursting to use the restroom. So he handed over the drinks to his friend and girlfriends while he went to use the John. That's what they call the toilet here in England. The club was not busy yet, as it was only 11 p.m, so the line for the toilet was very small. Security guards kept an eye out for drug users or people falling asleep or being simply too drunk and wanting to fight in the bathroom. My dad did his business within a couple of minutes and after washing his hands, opened the door back to the dance floor to a pit in his stomach. The last song of the night was playing. This song played every night the club was open to signal it was last call. My dad couldn't piece together what was going on. How could the last song of the night be playing? He asked the bartender for the time, and the bartender's watch was 5 minutes to 2 a.m. Stunned, my dad couldn't understand how a bathroom break for a couple of minutes went by over 4 hours. He was slapped hard in the face by his then girlfriend, accusing him of leaving the club to be with another girl. Even my dad's friend Wayne had a smirk on his face, eagerly awaiting to hear who the girl was. My dad was not amused and he was extremely angry, not understanding what was going on. Was the whole club playing a joke on him? Did he fall asleep in the club? Wait, no. The security would have thrown him out if he was asleep. He couldn't process what was going on. He went home and took 3 shots of vodka, trying to calm down. To this day, my dad cannot figure out what happened that night. And 39 years later, he still swears to this day he was sober that night at the club. Months after that night, he met my mum in the same nightclub on his first time back there. Questions will surround that night at the club seemingly forever. Was my dad abducted by aliens? Was he thrown into another dimension? Or did someone drug him and then bring him back to the club? We'll probably never know what really happened, but if something did, I'm glad my dad doesn't remember it.